Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Ijama, and I thank you for joining me for another episode. I know I say I'm always excited to talk to my guests every week, but I truly am, because I just enjoy the people I have on the podcast. This week, my guest is Kelly Parker Smith. She runs the Etsy shop Hello World Stamps. And Kelly is a former third grade teacher who started her Etsy shop in 2014. And now, over 19,000 sales later and over $500,000 in sales, she now not only is still running her Etsy shop, but she's helping other Etsy sellers who want to go full-time do the same thing. So I'm really excited to have Kelly on the podcast. We're going to get into all that, how she did it and how she can help you do it as well. So Kelly, thank you so much for being my guest and welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited. I've been listening to your show for a long time, so this is great.
Thank you. I'm really honored. So before we get into it, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? I feel like I took all the exciting parts and...
Oh, no, there's so much more. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I am a former third grade teacher. I taught at an inner city school for 10 years. And I was done. I was kind of burnt out. And I started doing weddings and design work on the side, and it just started growing. And I actually started an Etsy shop that's now closed in 2009. And that one was really good too. It's just, I started listing rubber stamps, and then I was like, these are really doing well. I'm going to open a shop just dedicated to rubber stamps. And so that's when I opened Hello World Stamps in 2014. And that was the catalyst to help me stop working full time at my teaching job. And so January 2014, I launched that second shop, and it just took off. And by April of 2014, my husband and I had a conversation, and he said, you can't do both things anymore. You are literally killing yourself. And I said, I know. And he's like, you have to pick one. And we were not in any situation where I could quit my job at all. We had 3 kids, and we both made the same amount of money. He was like a mechanic at the time. And so he's like, just do it. And he's like, you can commit now. Instead of part-time, you'll be full-time. And so in April of 2014, I put in my notice at my school, and I never looked back.
Wow.
I have 3 sons and a husband and a little kitty. Her name is Katniss, and we live outside of St. Louis. And yeah, I run my Etsy shop, my online shop. I have a podcast. I just launched my first fabric collection. So there's a lot going on over in my world, and I can't wait to share everything. I'm an open book.
I am so impressed with all you're doing. I mean, for me, it's just enough to stay afloat doing the podcast and running an Etsy shop, and here you are doing all this other stuff. But I know you've made me feel okay about myself.
Yes, I have help. I have people. I have a full-time. My friend, I took her from teaching in 2016. I said, you should just come work for me.
Yeah.
And even though that cut my income in half, because now I had to pay her.
Yes.
I didn't care, because I wanted part of my life back. Because then I was at the point again where I was killing myself working so much, doing it all alone. And I would rather have a more balanced lifetime with my kids, time to read a book and lay on my couch. That kind of thing, and it's worth it to me to pay someone to help me do that. So yeah, I have lots of help, and I don't know what I would do without it. Sometimes I think like, oh, you'd have all this other money, you should do it again by yourself. And I'm like, oh no, no.
Okay. So I have so many questions for you now. First of all, when you had the 2 shops going, at what point did you decide it was time to close the other one? And is there any reason you didn't just combine the 2 into one? Do you think it would have made a big difference if you did?
I don't know. Like, I think about that a lot because back then I really didn't know what I was doing, you
Mm.
know? So I just thought, well, if I open this other shop and it's just dedicated to stamps, I wasn't familiar with SEO, I
Mhm.
was like, just kind of like flying by the seat of my pants at the time.
Mhm.
And I was like, maybe if everything's just one thing, then I'll show up more in like search. If the name of my shop has stamps in it and all of my products are stamps and
Mm.
all of my tags are like maybe Etsy will recognize me more. That was my mentality
Yeah.
behind it. And so I did it, and I'm not saying that that's why it worked at all. I
Right.
don't know. It just I put a lot of work in. That's
Yes.
why something works is because you put a lot of work in.
Yeah.
And so I just really worked that shop, and then I just fell in love with the whole process of it, like designing the stamps and fonts and choosing all the things and helping people make custom items. And I just fell in love with that whole process. And my other shop was more weddings and birthdays, and that was fun. But I liked the quick turnaround of the stamps,
Mhm.
and it was a longer process for the other shop. And then I closed it one Christmas, and I just didn't open it back up. It's like you just and I thought, okay, I'm really busy with Hello World stamps, and I don't think I'm gonna open the other one back up. And so I
Yeah.
just let it go.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was real no like serious business strategy behind it. It's just literally me just flying by the seat of my pants,
Yeah.
and it worked out.
That's good to know because I think a lot of people can relate to that. One day
Yeah,
you're just like, okay, I'm going to take a break. And then at the end of your break, you're like, you know what? This is permanent. I'm
yep,
moving on.
yeah.
Now, are you self-taught or did you, how did you learn your craft?
Yeah, I'm completely self-taught. I actually have 3 degrees. One of them is in radio and television marketing. That was my first degree.
Wow.
The second one was in education, and then I have a master's in education, which I got my master's degree officially in March of 2014. I quit the next month, which is insane. Yeah, it's insane. Like people thought I was absolutely off my rocker.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, I was completely self-taught. I started just using, I got some software it was nothing fancy.
Mm.
And I started on just like my laptop in the corner of my bedroom. And then I heard about this program called Adobe Illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that would change my world. I have to get that. And it was super expensive because at the time it wasn't like on the cloud, you
Yeah.
couldn't get a subscription. So it was like $600 for this program. And I saved like every cent I got from selling. And at the time when I first started, I was selling like handmade cards. It was like, yes, my mother-in-law bought my first product on Etsy. But yeah, so I was like, I'm going to teach myself this. And I watched YouTube video after YouTube video, and I bought like they have a big manual that you can buy like on Amazon or whatever. And so I was like, I'm going to buy the course manual and I'm going to
Yeah.
teach myself. And I went chapter by chapter. As a teacher, I was like, okay, I'm going to break this down. And here's my lesson plan. And I just did it. I taught myself how to do it. And, I've always had what I thought was a good eye for design, and I
Yeah.
was always creative. And that, as a kid, I would draw and paint and do all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that all just started coming out of me again. It was dormant for so long because like in college, I picked my radio and television major because I couldn't make money as a teacher. I couldn't make money as an artist,
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's why I did that. And then I was like, well, this is crazy. I really want to be a teacher. And then I was like, this is crazy. I really want to be an artist. And so I think I have like job ADD or something. I'm not sure.
Yes, not just
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah,
think it's
right?
encouraging to see people who have an artistic side making a full-time living from
Yeah.
their craft and their creativity, and debunking that long-held belief that artists have to starve,
Right.
and just proving that wrong and then being successful at it. Now, when you first opened your Etsy shop, was it more of an experiment, or did you from day one have the intent to make it something more than just a side gig?
At first, this is going to sound funny because at first I was getting my master's degree. I had just had a baby, and I was working full time and I was bored. And I was like, I had a hobby, like, I was a scrapbooker and
Yeah.
I made cards and stuff. I don't do any of it anymore, but I was super into it at the time. And I was like, people ask me all the time to make them stuff. Maybe I should just let's see what happens if I sell it. And then maybe I can have extra money to put back in my classroom and like buy fun stuff for the kids. And, so it started like that. And I think it was probably about a year in where I was like, I think I could actually do this. And then that's when I really kicked it up a notch. I mean, until 2014, it was really a hobby. Like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Until I opened Hello World Stamps, and then that was it.
Was there a turning point in running your shops that, and I know you made a decision to quit, but what was it that made you know that was the right time? Did you hit a certain number of sales or a certain dollar figure in sales, and that was enough for you to know, I can do this, I can walk away from the security of a full-time job?
Yeah, my husband and I had talked a lot. Like we just kept having the same conversation because, I was up till 4 a.m. working on stuff, and then I had to go to work, or I'd get up before work, or I was working at lunch, and he's like, how many sales a day do you think it would take to get really close to your teaching salary? Because we knew this was part-time. We knew that if I quit and I could commit full-time, that, it would just go up. Yeah. We knew that I had something there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I think I need 5 sales a day. I think I need consistently 5 sales a day on Etsy. And then I think I can do it. And he's like, okay, get it, do it. And so April 2014, I was getting between 4, I'd say 8 sales a day on Etsy. And I was like, it's time. Because as a teacher, I had to tell them if I wasn't coming back because we're contracted per year.
Oh, right.
So it was quit in April or have to wait till the next April.
Oh.
And so I was like, it wasn't like I could just say like, oh, we'll wait till August or we'll wait till November. We'll see how this Christmas goes.
Yeah.
I didn't have that luxury,
Yeah.
So he's like, you just need to jump. Let's just do it. You can always go back to teaching. And I wasn't happy at my job either. So, that helped. I mean, the people were great, but I wasn't happy there.
Isn't that always the case? We like the people, but not the work.
Yes. I loved the people. I loved the kids. But, education, and I could really get into some stuff there, but I won't. So, yeah, my little mini goal was 5 sales a day.
Okay. And now, setting a goal for a number of sales per day, you had to have priced your products at a point where you knew that number was going to work. One of the things that you probably know a lot of Etsy sellers struggle with and sometimes miss the mark on is pricing. And more often than not, it's underpricing rather than pricing appropriately or overpricing. How did you determine what the right price point for your products were? And has that changed over the years? Do your prices fluctuate or change at all?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started listing stamps, it was really hard. A couple things I did was, one, I looked around at people who are comparable in quality and, the look of their shop, the commitment that they had, like all of those factors were in play for me. So I took that, I did some market research, looked at my competition, looked at what they were doing, and then also looked at the shops who were charging like nothing for the same thing I was doing. And I was like looking at their reviews. I just did a bunch of research. So then I had like a ballpark of where I wanted to be and like it's almost like who you want to be with, And so it's like, who do I want to be? What customers do I want to attract? Do I want to attract people who just want like a super quick product? They don't really care about quality. They're just going to stamp a couple things and that's it. They're not going to tell anyone about me. They're not going to get excited about me. No, I don't want that. I want someone who, is really invested in the project. This is for like their wedding, or this is for like their son's bar mitzvah, or, whatever. And so they really want it to be top quality, really good customer service. And so like, they're going to pay for that. And so I took, like everyone does, you take your materials, you take your time, you take all your stuff and you add it up. And then, you can do multiple multipliers and figure out what works best for you. But for me, the best way in the beginning was to take how many sales do I want to make a year? How much do I need to make? And then I started dividing. How much is that per day? How much do I need to make per day to make this work?
Okay.
And about how many sales do I think I can get? So then what's my pricing point? And I also took a couple classes too around 2015 to help me with pricing. So I took the Creative Founders online course, and they have a great pricing program that I went through there. And so that helped. They talked about marking up your products a certain percentage. I think they did like 70%. And that like really opened my eyes, like, oh my God, 70%? Is anyone actually doing that? And so it's like, oh my goodness. And at the time I was using a manufacturer. I was using an outside manufacturer for my stamps. I wasn't cutting them myself like I am now. So it was really hard for me to hit that without being overpriced in the market.
Yeah.
And so there's just so many factors. And I would love to give everyone like this perfect, formula, believe me, if it was out there, everybody would be using it. Right.
I know.
Right. So there's no perfect formula, but I would definitely say, look at your market.
Okay.
Who do you want to be surrounded by? And it's not like, who do you want to be in competition with? Like, don't look at it like that.
Right.
But who do you want to be in the same playing field as? Do you want to be with like the World Series champions, or do you want to be with like the Bad News Bears? Like, where do you want to be? And then also like look at your materials and your costs and make sure that you're giving yourself enough margin, 50, 60, 70% or more, in my opinion. And then make sure that if you look around for manufacturers, if you're using a manufacturer, make sure that you're getting the best quality for your money. And then, but if you can do everything yourself and you love doing it yourself, then make sure that you are purchasing materials at bulk rate, wholesale discounts, that sort of thing. I know it's scary. It's very scary to say, well, I need to buy 100 of something.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you're going to use 100 of something.
Right.
But, it'll push you to sell 100 of that thing.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm curious. So you originally were working with a manufacturer, and now you create the stamps yourself.
Right.
And typically when we think about scaling, we think scaling involves outsourcing. So pushing off what we want to do more of to someone or a company that will do it on a larger scale. But you did the reverse. Right. Was that part of your scaling, was bringing that in-house?
Yeah. Part of the reason that I did that is because the manufacturer I was using, great quality, wonderful company, but their drop shipping wasn't pretty. So I had to have everything shipped here, and then I packaged it up the way I wanted it to be, because, packaging is, it's key.
It's key. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted everything packaged up. I wanted my social media card in there. I wanted my business card in there. I wanted all my stuff, and they didn't offer that. And so I was like, I think I can make these for less if I just get this machine. I needed a laser engraver. So like, if I get this machine, not only can I do it for myself, but I can do it for other people. So not only do we now make our own stamps, but we make stamps for other Etsy shops.
Oh, great.
And then we drop ship for them with their packaging.
Oh, so they can send you any promo materials that they want. So you must have like a whole shipping department, it sounds like.
Yeah. We have like a wall. It's like shipping wall. And so like all of our clients, all of our little shops that we make stamps for, or laser engraved products, we do other stuff too, but they have like their own bin, and it has their whatever packaging they chose. We offer different packaging options, their cards or whatever, their thank you notes, whatever they want to send us. We'll even do handwritten notes, all that good stuff, because I felt like that was missing in the market. And so, that's what they always say, like, oh, you've come up with this great idea when you find the thing that's missing.
Yes.
And so people are very happy with the service. Like, they love that they can order their stamps and we ship it directly to their customers as if it came from them, and they don't have to worry about shipping.
Now, if somebody listening is in need of that service, do they just go to your Etsy shop, Hello World Stamps, and can they connect with you for that, or is there another way they can connect with you?
Yeah, they can send us a message on Etsy. They
Okay.
can email me, Kelly@helloworldpaperco.com. And then also our website, helloworldpaperco.com. Or if you put in helloworldstamps.com, it'll take you there too. And then we have lots of information on there about manufacturing.
Okay, great. Now, speaking about just doing other things, let's talk about how you manage your time and what a regular, if there is such a thing as a regular day, looks like for you. And specifically, you're running your Etsy shop, you have an e-commerce site, and you're also a co-host on the Creative Biz Rebellion podcast. So what does a typical day in the life of Kelly look like?
Well, I get this question a lot because people are like, how do you do all that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I get this question a lot. I do have a pretty set schedule depending on the season.
Okay.
November and December is just like from, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. we are in hustle mode, just getting out holiday orders. We're really busy at Christmas. People love to give address stamps or get their logo made into a stamp for a friend or, for themselves or, packaging stuff for their Etsy shop, whatever. So we're super busy. So November, December is literally just produce, start the machine, stop the machine, clean the rubber, it's just go, go, go. The rest of the year is I get up before my kids so that I can get some quiet working hours in. So like right now is summer, so they're home. So I'm getting up at 5:30 and I'm working till they get up. And then in the morning, I'm working mostly with creative stuff. So any projects that I have going on, because we also offer design services for anyone who wants laser engraving if they're not, a design wizard or anything. Right. So I'll be working on like custom work, new products, that sort of thing in the morning when I feel most creative. And then my son wakes up and then I go to the gym and then I come home, eat lunch, and then the afternoon is admin stuff. So I'm answering emails. I'm working on, in our bookkeeping. I do all that. I'm working on marketing, social media, that sort of thing. I try to divvy it out. Like on Mondays, I try to do social media in the afternoon only. And so I'll try to work on that because I do it for our podcast. And then I also do it for my design services and my fabric lines. And then I have a PR social media person who helps me with the stamp shop.
Okay. Yeah. Now, in addition to all that, you also are a course creator. How do you decide what you're going to create a course on? And what's the turnaround time between when you have an idea for a course that's needed by the creative community and when it's available?
Yeah, so we create most of our courses through Creative Biz Rebellion through our podcast.
Okay.
And we get a lot of questions. We have a Facebook community. And so we get a lot of questions in there. So it's based on the needs of our people. Okay. What do they need? What do they want to talk about? Do they need PR help? Do they need help with social media? Okay. So we've done financing webinar. We've done a PR webinar. We've done launching a product. So we take you through start to finish launching a product. We even give you a timeline, what you should be doing, 4 weeks out, what you should be doing 2 weeks out. So it's very detailed. Mm-hmm. We do them as live webinars for our mastermind groups every month. However, you can purchase them. They're only $25. It's an hour-long webinar. Mm-hmm. And then we have like worksheets or companion materials that go with each one. So it takes us a couple weeks to do them. So we're doing them like a month in advance. So our next one, for example, is going to be on productivity. And so we're getting all of our notes together and we're getting our slides together and all of our PDFs and stuff right now. And it's going to be in a couple weeks.
Okay. And just in case you're wondering, when Kelly says when she's talking about the podcast, she has a co-host, Caroline Hall.
Hull, Caroline Hull.
Hull,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's who she means when she says we.
Yeah, when I say we. Yeah, sorry, Caroline. Yeah, so I'm not doing this all by myself. And so Caroline and I, we split all the work. And so
Yes.
she does some things, I do some things. We started that in the beginning, like, hey, what are you really good at? What am I really good at? Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
So that it helps a lot. It really does.
And
then
you guys are in the same area, right? So you get
No.
to. Oh, you're not.
No, she's in
Whoa.
Colorado. I'm in St. Louis.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
here with me. I'm in Colorado. I just moved to Colorado.
She's in Colorado Springs.
Oh, okay. I'm in Denver.
Yeah, she
But-
just moved there too, like 2 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, of the courses that you have, and you have many, I want to start with one that I know is going to be of interest to somebody who's listening right now, especially in this very fluid Etsy landscape. It's your Etsy action plan.
Mm-hmm.
What's that about? Who is it for? And who would not want to take a course from somebody with your track record?
Right. Well, so the Etsy action plan is really for the Etsy seller who is A, just starting and has no clue what to do.
Okay.
Or B, you've been doing it a while, but you're feeling like something's off. So something's off. Maybe you don't know if you set things up right. You don't know if you're doing your titles right or your tags. It is a foundation. And I tell people who take it all the time, it's okay if you've been doing this 4 years, but if something doesn't feel right and you think you need to kind of back up, like if you feel like, oh, I should just start over, like I should just close this and start over.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Let's just go and let's fix everything. You can change everything. So it takes you through, setting up your about page, your announcement, all of that, all of those things, like all those basic things, talks about dimensions for your cover photo and your avatar and all that stuff. And then it goes into, oh my gosh, so much like shipping and listings and testing tags and making sure you have the right keywords and all of that stuff. Okay. And then it will be updated probably by the time this is live. It's going to be updated because, Etsy's making all their changes.
Yes.
So we do our best. Well, I do. It's just me. I do my best to keep it updated as quickly as Etsy makes their changes. And so I'm planning a big update this summer. So.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for anyone who wants to check that out, I will link directly to the course, or you can go to creativebizrebellion.teachable.com, or if you go to creativebizrebellion.com, there's a page for courses and there's a direct link to it. So there are many ways to get to it. I will make sure that you can navigate your way to that particular course.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, when this airs, we will be heading right into, we will be right in the holiday selling season.
Yes.
For someone who perhaps is just not fully prepared yet, what are some tips you can give that person to be able to capitalize on this holiday season with what time is left of it?
Well, with what time is left, you really need to focus on customer service.
Okay.
So for me, that's always number one, because even though you may run out of stuff this year, okay, you may sell out, you may, run out of shipping boxes, you may have all these little fires you have to put out, but the number one thing you have to do is always maintain that amazing customer service and customer communication. So if you are behind because again, you're out of shipping boxes and you're waiting for them to be delivered, you need to communicate that. So don't ever be afraid to tell the truth to your customers.
Okay.
Because they are humans too. You're a human. And so just tell them what's going on. Hey, your order might be a little bit behind. It's a holiday craziness. I ran out of this, whatever. They will understand. Now, don't email them 2 days before Christmas Eve and then tell them they're not getting their stuff. That's different. So customer service is key because guess what? They'll come back next Christmas. So you always want to be thinking about the next year.
Okay.
I know that's crazy, but you always want to be thinking the next year. So I have to put my best foot forward this year so they come back next year, because you want to just keep building in that. And within that year, until they come back, you want them to tell all their friends.
Okay.
So you want to just ooze sweetness. And I'm not saying, and I think this is what happens, some big mistake by some Etsy sellers. You don't have to give them the world. Just be yourself and be kind and have open communication.
Okay.
But you don't have to give up the farm. Okay. So don't come out of every interaction giving away something for free. I think people sometimes try to overcompensate, like they don't want to lose the sale. So they'll discount it 25%, or they'll say like, oh, I'll include this or XYZ. And they just don't want to lose that sale. Well, it doesn't matter if you lose a sale if you didn't make any money. So just always keep your profit margins in line too.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I know this holiday selling season is, well, for some, it's like, what some sellers look forward to make up for the rest of the year. So it's a crucial time. I just want to circle back to the Etsy action plan, because I forgot there were a couple more questions I had about it.
Okay.
Is it primarily designed for sellers who have a handmade product, or can sellers who are in the vintage or supplies space still benefit from it?
The point of the Etsy action plan is very, like I said, framework.
Okay.
So it's very much, how does Etsy operate? How does it work? How do I list things? How do I categorize things? So it can work for a vintage seller or a supply seller. It can totally work for them. That's why I kind of did it that way. I didn't get super specific on like, okay, this is for jewelry makers, or this is for, doll makers. So it's an overview and a base for your Etsy shop.
Okay. So for someone who is, like you said, just getting started, or has started but is stuck, it helps you reframe what you're doing.
Yes.
The proper way.
And all the videos are done by me, and I literally take you through my own Etsy shop. So you see how I have things set up, my back end. I did not invent another shop to show you things. Yeah. It's mine. Okay. It's all mine. So you'll see all my listings, how I set things up, how I do titles and tags, and all, I go through stats and all that good stuff. So.
Okay. Now, after someone has gone through that and is all set up, what, if any, other courses would you recommend to that person to take to help stay on track and just make sure that they are staying on a path to being profitable and successful?
Yeah, well, the best thing that we offer is what's called Rebel Sessions. So that's our mastermind group.
Okay.
And it's all product-based makers and product-based designers.
Okay.
And so anyone who runs a product-based business can come join Rebel Sessions. Okay. And we meet monthly with one of us. So Caroline or I is in your group of 4 to 6 people. This is not a group coaching situation. We are in there talking about our goals and what we're doing in our shop. So we are in your mastermind group. Okay. As a participant, not a facilitator.
Okay.
And we wanted that, closeness, and we wanted to really get to know the people who listen to the podcast and who are in our Facebook group in a different way. We wanted to really dive deeper into their shops, and we want to help. And so we have that. And then that included with that is our monthly workshop. Those are $25 for people who are not in Rebel Sessions. But then if you're in Rebel Sessions, they're free. So you come to our monthly workshop, you can come to it live, and you get all the accompanying materials that go with it. Like I said, some of them we've had is like focusing on finances. We've done PR. We've done marketing your product-based business. We have done, we're doing productivity this month. So every month we have like a different theme, and the podcast kind of correlates with that.
Okay.
And so that would be the next thing I would do. And we have a lot of people in our Rebel Sessions group who have taken the Etsy course. And that's kind of how they found out about us in the beginning, because the Etsy course was before the podcast.
Okay.
And so, so it's amazing. It's amazing. And we're seeing so much growth in people who are in the groups. And everyone's just so supportive of each other. And I just absolutely love it. We have t-shirt makers. We have like a woodcut artist. We have a metalsmith. She's like making these massive like iron beds. And I mean, it's just everyone. Yeah. And that's what I love about it.
Okay, good. I like that. And I like that. Now, how big are the groups? 4 to 6.
Okay,
perfect.
Yeah,
because I think there's something to be said for smaller groups where you can really, everyone has a voice, you can connect and really hear and benefit from each other.
Yeah, everyone has a chance to talk. And like, so every month everyone talks about what they're going to work on, how they're pushing their shops forward, and everyone has the floor instead of it's just Caroline and I talking and people asking questions. Yeah. We just thought it was just a better format.
Okay. Is there a cost to join a Rebel session?
Yes, it's $49 a month.
Okay. All right. And I ask that because, and I talked about this in another episode, sometimes putting money down increases your commitment level, because then you have to show. I mean, unless of course money is no object and you can do it and not show up.
I don't know who that is. Yeah. No.
Right. Okay.
So we don't have any of those people. So yeah, everyone is really committed. Everyone shows up every month. And we also have a private Facebook group for each group so that you can connect like daily if you want, I have how many groups? I have 2 or 3 groups right now. Yeah. Well, I'm starting my 3rd. And then like Caroline has groups too. And so then we have, a Facebook group for everybody. And it's really fun.
Now, do you place people in groups based on their specific craft and product? And how do you and Caroline decide who is going to be part of that, a specific group?
Yeah, so we have like a little onboarding kind of questionnaire. Okay. So it'll ask you lots of stuff like, how long have you been doing this? How much revenue comes out? Like it's a range. It's not like you don't have to type it in specifically. Yeah. And then, like, is this full time? Is it part time? So then we try to pair people with kind of who are on the same path, I guess you could say, or the same part in their journey. So we're not going to pair someone who's just starting with someone who's, 20,000 plus sales on Etsy or whatever. They're not going to be together.
Yes. Because
we don't want the person that's new feeling like they can't ask questions or they can't, or like, you feel like, oh, okay, this is going to be a stupid question. You already know this, but
right. Yeah.
We want to, we want to try to avoid all that. So most of the people that are in their groups are at the same place in their journey. Okay. But we try to diversify what products they're selling.
Okay.
So we don't want to have like 3 t-shirt, designers in one group.
Right. Makes sense.
And not because they can't support each other. They support each other, in our general Facebook group. But just, that's just, we want people to be open and honest and just totally give to this group. And we don't want them to ever feel that they have to hold back their ideas or what they might want to do in the future in fear that, of somebody else. Yes. If that makes sense. You have to kind of take into consideration what most people's insecurities and, hangups might be when you're working with group dynamics. It gets a little sticky, but.
Yeah. And you have to be able to read, people well too. I like that. So I like that. There's the foundation for people to build their framework, get up and running. And then if they choose to continue, there is a network that they can get plugged into and have an ongoing support system. So it's not like they've just done the course. That's it. Good luck to you. Yeah, you can
Right.
send me a question if you have any, but, having that continued connection, which has been a theme for the last few episodes I've done, is connecting with
Yeah.
people to help, for growth and just to be better, because we've lately have just really gotten so into the online world to the exclusion of everything in real life. And so reconnecting with people to make, those connections and to grow and just get better, I think is the way that businesses are going to survive going forward.
I could not agree more. It's so powerful to sit here, and even though it's not live, we don't like meet at a coffee shop, but to have the screen and the faces of 4 women or guys, we don't have any guys yet, but open to that, 4 women that support you and give you honest feedback. Like, I've presented designs before in our group, and they've been like, "Oh, Kelly, you might want to change this," or, we think your audience is going to like this better. And it's just so refreshing. You put something on social media and most people are like, "Oh, that's amazing. Oh, it's so great,"
Yes, and then move on.
And so it's nice to have that closeness and that trust in a group where you can just literally throw anything at them and be like, "What do you guys think of this? Do you think this will stick? Do you think?" So we're really enjoying it, and people are getting a lot out of it.
I like that. Now, something that you've been able to do is you've had your products featured in Town and Country and Southern Weddings and St. Louis Magazine. That's like the holy grail for product sellers, is to get featured in major publications.
Right.
What advice can you give to someone who's listening now and would like to get similar exposure?
My biggest advice is that you're never going to get a yes if you don't ask. So you've got to start asking people, send out the email to that magazine, because trust me, you're going to send it out and say Mary reads it, right?
Yeah.
And you don't hear back from her. You're going to follow up, and then Joe's going to read it. It's not always the same person.
Yeah.
These companies have turnover too. So just because you don't get a response or you get a no doesn't mean you shouldn't try again. And so keep putting yourself out there, keep emailing people, do your research, find the best fit for you. Maybe you think that, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a really popular magazine right now. People Magazine. Maybe you want to be in People Magazine. You're like, "Oh, People Magazine is my favorite." But make sure that that's right for you. Because when you email People Magazine and you try to pitch them your product, it may not be a right fit. And then you might get discouraged. You're like, "Oh, that was like the dream." Okay.
Yeah.
But then also remember, say you do get in People Magazine, it may not catapult you to stardom. And it's not always like, okay, if I get my product in X magazine or X publication or on BuzzFeed, I'm going to blow up. That's not necessarily true all the time.
Yeah.
And so I don't want people to be like, "Oh, if I don't make it, if I don't get into this thing." Don't think like that. Put it out there, do what you can, but don't just get discouraged. Some of the biggest companies you've never heard of, and they get business all the time. And so, and you've never even heard of them. So just because you get featured somewhere doesn't mean your shop's going to blow up. Because trust me, I've been featured in many places, and it wasn't like this crazy whirlwind of activity.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was cool, and it's awesome. And I got some business from it. But it wasn't like, well, I had to hire 6 people and, we moved into a warehouse. Okay. So I think that sometimes that's the mentality. Like, oh, if I get into this, then everything's going to change.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to keep that in mind, because yes, I think we all tend to think, okay, if I get this exposure, it's going to catapult me into a whole new sphere, and then, I'm really going to blow up. But it's good to keep in mind that, one, it might just be for a period of time.
Yeah.
And, you can capitalize on it when it happens, or it might not even end up being what you hoped it would be.
Right. But it's still really cool.
But it's still, yeah, you get to say
really
it. You
cool.
get bragging
Yeah.
rights.
Yeah. I have all my magazines like stacked up on my bookshelf, and I just look at them all the time. And I'm like, oh, that was just so cool, So yeah, but keep trying. Just keep putting yourself out there. Keep emailing people. There's I wish there was a magic
formula
pill I could give everybody.
I know.
It's called hard work.
Yes, there's so many things I wish there were formulas for that didn't require hard work, but alas.
Perseverance, don't give up. Yeah.
Now, speaking about getting exposure, let's talk about social media. You do spend some time doing social media. What part of an Etsy seller's bigger business plan and promotional plan do you think social media should play? And do you think there are specific platforms that we should be focusing on more than others?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can tell you that my number one social media referrer to my Etsy shop is Pinterest.
Okay.
And I don't even spend that much time there. I mean, Pinterest is just this whole crazy, awesome search engine. And people call it social media.
Yeah.
And it's social media on Etsy. But it's actually a search engine, and it's just amazing. We did an episode with Megan Allman, and she is just like this Pinterest wizard for her product-based business. And she would just open my eyes to how powerful that it is. I mean, I was spending a lot of time on Instagram, Facebook. I don't really do Twitter. I never really, for product-based businesses, it's not very visual.
Yeah.
It's more text. And so, but she just opened my eyes oh my gosh, I've got to be on Pinterest. And so we've started really trying to amp that up in the last few months. So hopefully that pays off for the holidays. And then we use Tailwind. We just started using Tailwind.
And by amping up, do you mean more than just after you post a listing? You know how Etsy gives you those buttons? Right.
Yeah, we use those.
Okay.
That's always the first thing we do after we post a listing. But then we'll also go in and pin, older ones too, if, they haven't been pinned in a while. So you can we just repin them. Okay. And then also, we'll pin other people's stuff that we think our audience might like.
Okay.
So if you market to, people who are getting married, you might have a board with wedding dresses. You might have a board with wedding cakes. And then there's your board with your wedding stationery right next to it. And so really knowing your audience is important when you're on Pinterest and knowing what they like. So, for example, my audience really likes, punny quotes and, that sort of thing. So we'll have different boards about that, or design, or you could even do color inspiration. There's so many things that you could do to really hone in on your audience. If you sell cookie cutters, you can do recipes, you could do kitchen decor, you could do tons of stuff. And so that's the power of Pinterest, is that it's not just your products that will draw people to you. It's going to be something else that you pin that they just like. Okay. And then they'll see pinned by Hello World Paper Co. And then they're like, oh, who's that? And then they go a little deeper. And then we focus on Instagram. I have someone who does our Instagram and PR. So we focus on that, and that's fun. Instagram's just super fun, and you can really get to know your audience, and interact with them. I don't put a lot of stock in social media as much as I think other people do, just because I'm a firm believer in not putting all your eggs in one basket, That's probably why I do too many things. And so, I think people put so much into Instagram, and it's great. It's a great tool. And they get so upset when things change, the algorithm changed and this changed and that changed.
Yeah.
Everything always is changing. This is the thing that never changes. The thing that never changes is that everything changes, right? And so you've got to be able to roll with the punches. Yes. You can't, one thing that really bothers me is when people are like, oh, the algorithm, no one saw my post. Oh, please go like my, it's like, no, just keep pushing, keep promoting your products, keep having a positive attitude, have great customer service. And it doesn't matter how many numbers you have. If you have 100 followers on Instagram, but 100 of those people are buying from you, I would rather that than 10,000 people who are not buying from you at all.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think people just get so caught up in that. They get caught up in their Instagram numbers and their email marketing numbers and, their list and, the whole GDPR.
Yeah.
I culled my list so hard. Like, my list is so small now, and I'm really excited about it because it's the people who actually really want to be there and buy from me and hear from me. And so I think it's going to be great.
It's funny that you talk about that, because the very next thing I wanted to segue into was our list, your list, and just how you nurture that, how you handle it. And it's funny that you said you call yours, because I'm getting ready to send out an email, and the title is "Please Unsubscribe."
Yeah.
And you probably know why, but yes, because
100%.
Yeah, at some point, you have to decide, okay, I really do want to talk to you, but only if you want to engage in a conversation with me. So I'm about to start talking, and I won't be offended if you say thanks, but no thanks. And, let's move forward from there. So how do you nurture your list? What do you do to stay connected with them, keep people interested in what you're doing?
Yeah, well, this is where the honesty and the open book side of Kelly comes out.
Okay.
I'm not very good at it. Like, I was never very good at my list. I think it intimidated me. I don't know why, but it was very much like, I'm going to send this email and only 17% of the people are even going to open it. So, I just stopped. Yeah. And that's why when this whole GDPR thing came up, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect opportunity. So I sent out all the emails I was supposed to send, and I got everybody to sign up for what they're supposed to sign up for and check all the boxes. And now I'm really excited. Like, I'm excited to start engaging with people who really want to be there. Yeah. And I am just going to be, and I always have been whenever I've done email campaigns or, that sort of thing, I'm always very product heavy. So I think as product-based business owners, it's hard for us because we get emails, you get emails from that social media guru you follow or the, whoever, that blogger you like, and they're like writing books. Okay.
Yes.
And so you get intimidated and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to say? That's the number one question we get about email. What should I say?
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything. You sell products, take some really good pictures and put them in the email and say hey, we've got some new stamps. Boom, boom, boom. Link the pictures and you're done.
Yeah.
And that's what I've started doing. And it has been so much better. So I talk to people on social media, but on email, they just want to see, if they're following you and you're a product-based business, they just want to see what you got to sell.
Yeah.
They want to see what's new, what's on sale, what are you doing? They don't want to read a book. If you want to write a book, then go, do a service-based business, have a podcast, that's where the book writing comes in, on our podcast side, we're writing longer emails and, they're more in depth and that sort of thing. But as a product-based business, I've come to the realization that people just want to see stuff. And you can see that from big companies too.
Yes.
I just got an email from Uline, the packaging people. And it was literally, the title was Rubber Gloves. And it literally had a picture of rubber gloves. And I thought to myself, that would really come in handy.
Yeah.
I think I need to order some,
Yes. And it's so true, because how if you shop online, you start to get those emails. I mean, I feel like I always uncheck the box that says receive emails, but it doesn't matter because I still get emails when I shop online. But if it's a store that sells products, their emails that they send are always, they're never telling you about what's new in, the store, as in what new policies they have or what new adventures they're up to. It's we have shoes on sale.
Yep.
These are the pants on sale. These are the dresses on sale. It's really just all, buy this product. This
Right.
is another product like one you bought. You might like this, buy it. And I think, oh yeah, I'm not mad at them for
No.
trying to sell me more of what I've already bought.
Mhm.
So it makes
Yeah.
sense.
But I think that also intimidates people too. I think people just in general, email marketing just freaks them out,
Yeah.
because they're like, well, then I just sound like I'm just pushing my product all the time. Well, you can have like a little paragraph or something. It doesn't just have to be a straight up sale every time, but isn't that why we're in business?
Yes.
Like, isn't that what we're doing here? We're
Yeah.
trying to sell stuff. And they wouldn't sign up for your email list if they didn't want to know what you had to sell.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I had a little wake up call at GDPR. Yeah.
Oh, yes. That is a whole other conversation.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Kelly, what advice would you give to that veteran seller? We have stuff for new sellers. We've talked about the Etsy action plan and people who are stuck. But there's a veteran seller who is listening, who has plateaued, is not doing well, but knows that she can do better. What advice would you give to that person to just help her get unstuck from where she is and just keep on an upward trajectory?
Yeah, well, I've been her. So I'd have to say my biggest advice would be is don't be afraid of change. People's ideas change, people's tastes change. Everything is constantly changing. And if we're so stuck in our ways or stuck with the one thing that we do, or you're stuck in one place, and we're here on the Etsy Convo podcast. I love Etsy. But at the same time, you can't put everything you have in one place. And so think about other things that you can do with your craft. Can you teach a class? And not just like an online class, if video intimidates you, maybe you could teach a class at the local meeting place. You could teach a class for kids. So if you're an artist or you're a designer, or even if you build things, you build furniture, kids eat that stuff up. And parents are always looking for stuff to do in the summer.
Yeah.
So you have to start thinking outside the box. That was like a breaking point for me. Like I was like, oh, the shop's doing so great, so great, so great. And then it just kind of like stayed in the same place. And we weren't growing. And I was like, what's going on? And instead of getting upset and instead of saying, well, I'm still going to do my same thing and it's just going to be, and it's going to be fine, and I'm just going to keep going. You have to kind of think outside the box. Like, what else can I bring to this party I've already got?
Yeah.
What else can I do with the talents that I have? And you have to get creative. And so maybe that will also help you think of more products. If you're teaching a class and you're helping people start something for themselves, that might spur some activity in your brain that helps you think of a new product line or a new idea or whatever. And I think that, kind of diversifying your business is a really good idea. And it helps me a lot too. So we may be doing something for the podcast and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had this great idea for the shop.
Yes.
And Caroline's like, okay, and I just have to write it down,
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's like when you're showering, and you get all your great ideas in the shower, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because you're not focused on that one thing over and over and over again.
Yes.
So sometimes we have to kind of walk away and go do something else. Now you can walk away and go bake a cake, or you can walk away and teach a class and make some money. So you kind of got to look at, what is your skill set and how can you utilize it best? And you don't always have to get your business from online sales either. You could do a craft show. You could connect with local businesses. Maybe the thing that you do, like we do logo stamps. And so I connect with local businesses, see what kind of stamps, they need. Like, what can I offer them? How can I help their business grow? And so you have to kind of think outside the box a little bit.
Okay. I like that. You're so right. I will be having a conversation with another seller on the podcast, and we'll talk about something, and it unearths a need that exists. And I'm like, that's a business idea right there.
Yep.
And then I'm like, I should do that. But you know how we are. I have
Yeah.
like 10 things in my head I think I should be doing.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like that phrase where like you have 135 tabs open,
Yes.
it's like, it's always open. They're always open.
They're always open. I know. I hate when I have to update my computer because I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to lose all my windows that are open.
That's right.
Now, Kelly, you've mentioned some good resources. You've talked about the Creative Founders, the pricing course you took. Of course, there's your Etsy Action Plan and Rebel Sessions and Tailwind. Are there any other resources that you can think of that that you use to be more productive, or that have helped you just run your business better, that you can share with us?
Yeah, sure. Well, besides Etsy, well, first of all, Etsy, I love all of their features. So I'm all about, their stats and, their back end. I love all of it. We use the promotions, we use the marketing, the social, we use all of it.
Yeah.
And, that's another big thing. If you're an Etsy seller and you are trying to balk at like all the changes and you don't want to do any of it, like I encourage you just to try, because they put things in there that are going to help you.
Yeah.
And so try your best to give it a whirl. And I know, like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, now it's 10 photos, or now they're changing this or they're changing that. Yes, it's okay. It's okay. Just keep moving forward, keep going. There's lots of creative ways to do those 10 photos, which I actually talk about in an episode. But there's that. So Etsy, all their services, all their stuff, I just love it. And I can't wait for their upgraded features. I'm super excited about it.
I know. Yes.
I'm probably one of the only people, but I'm like, pumped. I can't wait. I'm really excited to see what they release in January, because I'm just like dying for a couple things that would really help me. And then I have my Squarespace website and Shopify for manufacturing. And so to combine all of those, we use ShipStation for our shipping.
Oh, right.
And we really love it, because then we can like tag people in different colors. And so like all of our manufacturing people get different color, our Etsy sales get different color, all of our Squarespace sales get different colors. So that's super fun. Yeah. So that really helps us. That's like kind of like our home base, with orders. And I'm pretty simple. I use like Google Docs and Gmail, and I use Trello a lot for things. We really use it for the podcast. And then I use it to keep like manufacturing client information and kind of ordering and that sort of thing. And Google Sheets, we have like our inventory sheet, and we're pretty simple over here. We try to keep it simple. Yeah.
I know. I tried to get fancy, and then eventually I just reverted to Google Apps. Basically, they have just about everything you need. So if I need to create a document, a template for a document, I'll just do a Google Doc on it. I use Google Sheets all the time, and I use their alerts. And I know that everyone says then they track you and they know everything you do. I'm okay with it. I don't really have anything to hide.
Yes, exactly. I don't have any secrets. I don't, and like, I don't have a cover over my like webcam, like, I mean, you're just going to see me sitting here typing. I don't know what you'll see. So, oh my gosh, I'm totally with you. I Google everything. Yeah. I use Google.
Yes. I mean, yes. So they'll track you and you'll see ads and all whatnot. And it can be creepy sometimes, but it's okay. It's free. It's free to a certain extent. You get a lot for free before you have to pay anyway.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man, what was I? Of course, your podcast is the Creative Biz Rebellion podcast. And we all like to listen as we work. So I will definitely be including that in the list of resources available. It's easy enough to just subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can subscribe to the Creative Biz Rebellion podcast. It's in Google Play, iTunes. You're on iHeartRadio and Spotify too, right?
Right.
Yes. And sorry, it's not iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcasts.
Apple
I have to say that.
Podcasts.
Yes, I know. It's so formal now.
Yes.
Now, Kelly, what's the best way people can connect with you if they want to stay in touch with you, or if they want to reach out and ask you any questions? Perhaps there's something we didn't get to talk about that they still have questions about.
The very best way, honestly, is to join our Facebook group. Okay. It's just Creative Biz Rebellion. Just search for it on Facebook. I'm in there every day talking with people, and just tag me in a post. Or if you're not comfortable with Facebook groups, I know some people, that's not your thing. That's okay too. You can email me at kelly@helloworldpaperco.com, and I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Okay. So I will link to the Creative Biz Rebellion Facebook group in the show notes for this episode. I will also have Kelly's email address. Everywhere you can find her online, on Etsy, her website, the Shopify site, as well as the Creative Biz Rebellion website, which is creativebizrebellion.com. You can go directly there. I will link to all her courses. We didn't get to talk about all of them, but you have enough information right now on how to start and follow a path. And if you just want to jump right into the accountability groups, can people do that? Can they just join an accountability group without going through the Etsy action plan first?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You can come. Our mastermind groups are open 4 times a year.
Okay.
So you can stop by. It's, just go to creativerebelbase.com. That's where all of our courses are. Super easy. Okay. It's kind of like Star Wars, So you can go there and you can see it, and it'll tell you if it's open or not at the time when you go in. And if it's not open, you can sign up for our email list, and you'll get an email when it opens.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm so glad that I got to talk to you, and that you were able to come on and share all the information you did. And thank you just for the resources that you provide to the creative community, especially product sellers who sometimes get lost in the dust of service providers. Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This is, oh my gosh, this was a dream. Like, I've listened to your show forever, so this was amazing. I'm so happy we met, and I'm so happy to be able to help your audience, because that's all I want to do. I just want to help other Etsy sellers keep going and hopefully quit their day jobs, because it's the best. Being in your pajamas is the best.
Yeah, I am too. Thanks, Kelly, and I thank you for listening to the podcast, and I will be back again next time.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.